ملاذ الناس في دين ودنيا بذول دون من بالنوالي شجاع في اختياد واغتنام إلى الإسلام مع ترك المحال جواد.
ICFA Institute, Al Madina Travel, Salum Jidda, Sen Info International ak tarixa At-Tidjani in America si njiital suñu imam Mouhamed Mountakha Sakho ñoo leen di may émission bu mag bi.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi haqqa qadrihi wa miqdarihi al-azim. Qala al-muallif rahmatullahi alayhi الفرض قسمان كفاية وعين ويشمل الوجوب سنة بذين. In our previous lessons we went through al-ahkam al-shar'iyya, the rulings. From what we have got through, we can determine that there are two types of rulings: al-ahkam al-taklifiyya and al-ahkam al-wad'iyya. Al-ahkam al-taklifiyya are 5. They are ahkam that has to do with the actions of the adult in that which he is responsible. من حيث ما هو مكلف به. So we said that there are 5 ahkam taklifiyya. Fard, which is obligatory. Number 2, fard. Yes, sunnah. Sunnah, yes, mandub. Sunnah is mandub. Yes, we're talking about usul. In usul, it's going to tell us that sunnah is mandub in usul. But in fiqh, now we're talking about usul. So we have 5 ahkam. Number 1 is fard. Number 2 is mandub, or call it sunnah. Number 3 is haram. Number 4 is makruh. And number 5 is mubah. Fard, obligatory. Mandub, recommended, or sunnah. Haram, forbidden. Makruh, disliked. Mubah, permissible, or permitted, or allowed. But whenever you have these 5 ahkam, you have also 5 ahkam next to them, which are called al-ahkam al-wad'iyya, because they are put there, for these ahkam to be done or not to be done. What do I mean? Al-ahkam al-wad'iyya, you have as-sabab, الشرط, المانع, الصحة, and البطلان. السبب is like the cause. For example, sunset is a sabab for Maghrib to be wajib. It's a sabab for Maghrib to be obligatory. It's called the sabab. Shart. Wudu is a shart for salah to be valid. For salah to be valid. That's what we call shart. Mani' is something that prevents something from happening. For example, salah is a fard. But when a woman sees their menses, can they make salah? They can. So that's mani', it's a preventer of something to be done. Sihha and fasad, or sihha and butlan. Fasad is butlan. In Hanafi madhab, butlan and fasad has some difference. We don't want to go through that. Sihha is things, what makes, sihha means that the validity of the action. Why? Because all the requirements are respected. That's what we call sihha. For example, if you do the salah as you're supposed to do it, we judge that the salah is valid. If anything that is required to be done for the salah to be valid is missing, then we judge the salah as fasid. That's what they call fasad or butlan. That the salah is invalid. The marriage, the way it is done, can tell us whether the marriage is valid or is invalid. So these are the 5 ahkam wad'iyya, and we have also the 5 ahkam taklifiyya. But here he's telling us, wal fardu qismani, that fard is of 2 types. Kifayatun wa ayn, a fard that is communal and a fard that is individual. So this, he's telling us fard in regard to its dua. The fard in regard to its dua is of 2 types. What do I mean by in regard to its dua? For example, Salatul Dhuhr, in regard to its dua, it's aini, is an individual fard. No one can make Salatul Dhuhr for you, but you. It is wajib on you, on every single mukallaf. No one can replace you in that fard. There is communal fard. For example, Salatul Janaza. It is a communal fard. If a person dies, all of those who are aware of it and have the ability to attend the Salatul Janaza, it is obligatory for us to do so. If we do not make Salatul Janaza, all of those all those that have the knowledge of it and they have the ability to attend, we are all responsible. We all have sinned for not making this Salatul Janaza. But if some of us, attend the Salatul Janaza, then it suffices. That's why we call it kifai, because it is sufficient for some to do it. That's what we call communal fard. It is a fard upon the community. But if some members of the community do it, then it suffices. It suffices. But if some members of the community make zuhr, is it sufficient for you to not make zuhr? No, that's the difference. So he said, that's the fard in regard to its dua. But there is fard, bi'atibari dhatihi, in regard to the fard itself. Al-fard bi'atibari dhatihi, in regard to the fard itself, is of 2 types. Fard that is muayyan and fard that is mubham. A known fard that is muayyan, and fard that is unknown. What do I mean by that? For example, salah is a known fard upon all of us, right? It's a known fard, it's a fard muayyan. But there is fard mubham. For example, when you have to do kafara, kafara is an obligation upon you, but you have, choice between this and this and this, between fasting or freeing a slave or feeding 60 poor people. So this is called unknown fard. It's mubham, meaning if you do one of these 3, then you have done the fard. That's why it's called fard mubham, because you're not going to say the fasting is obligatory upon you. You're not going to say the feeding is obligatory upon you. What is obligatory upon you is one of the 3. That's why it's called mubham fard. That's the fard in regard to fard itself. And fard in regard to its time also is of 2 types. Fard in regard to its timing, it is also of 2 types. Fard mudayyak and fard muwassa'a. Fard that its time is narrow and fard that its time is big. What is that? It's expanded. For example, fasting the month of Ramadan. That fard, in regard to its time, is mudayyak, it's narrow. During the 30 days of the month of Ramadan, you cannot do anything but fasting the 30 days of the month of Ramadan. That it's narrow. All you can do, can you do naflu sawm in Ramadan? Yes. That's because there is nothing but the fard that you can do. You cannot delay it to Shawwal without any excuse. That's why it's a fard mudayyak. You cannot fast, in January because it's going to be hard in Ramadan in June, like what I heard that the Nation of Islam used to do. I don't know if it's true. They used to fast in December, I heard, because the time fasting for. So Ramadan is fardu mudayyak. You cannot fast it before, you cannot fast after, and during Ramadan you cannot fast anything but Ramadan. But when it comes to qada'u Ramadan, making up the missed days of Ramadan, that's a fard muwassa'. That fard is muwassa', meaning you're not obligated to fast the missed days of Ramadan in Shawwal. You have 30 days of fast, for example, or you have 10 days missed in Ramadan. You can fast Mondays and Saturdays and Thursdays in Shawwal, Mondays and Thursdays in Dhul Hijjah. You can fast 5 and then wait and then fast 3 and then, because it's muwassa'. That's what he says. That's why he says, وَالْفَرْضُ قِسْمَانِ كِفَايَةٌ وَعَيْنٌ وَيَشْمَلُ الْمَنْدُوبُ سُنَّةً بِذَيْنٍ. Fard is of two types. Kifaya, the fard that is communal, wa'ain, and fard that is individual. وَيَشْمَلُ الْمَنْدُوبُ سُنَّةً بِذَيْنٍ is that, and the mandub category contains the sunnah ruling, and also contains these two types, communal and individual. Meaning when we say mandub, it comprises, sunnah is part of mandub. In usul, when you talk about usul, he says mandub, how do you call it? Contains a sunnah in it. But when it comes to fiqh, for example, when you go to Salah or Hajj, or even the first chapter after this chapter, which is chapter Tahara, he's going to tell you that the obligatory acts of wudu, the sunnah of wudu, and the mandub of wudu. There, mandub will be less than the sunnah. But in usul, when we say mandub, it contains both, he says. وَيَشْمَلُ الْمَنْدُوبُ sunnah. وَيَشْمَلُ الْمَنْدُوبُ sunnah بِذَيْنٍ. And also you have sunnah kifa'iyah and sunnah ayniyah. Mandub kifa'i, mandub ayni, meaning sunnah that is individual and a sunnah that is communal. For example, the sunnah that is individual is such as is like the sunnah of witr. Can someone else pray witr for you? No, that's sunnah ayniyah. That's an individual sunnah. No one can pray witr for us. Sunnah of Eid. Can anybody pray Eid for you? Nobody can pray Eid for you. It's an individual sunnah. But you have also communal sunnah. For example, the iqamah that you just did before. Who did the iqamah? He left. Okay. That iqamah is a communal sunnah. Adhan is a communal sunnah. Of course, adhan in this masjid, because adhan in the entire city is fard. If nobody did adhan in the whole city, we all that's communal fard, But adhan in every single masjid is a sunnah. But it's a communal sunnah. Iqamah is in every single masjid is a communal sunnah. If one does it, it suffices. That's why he says that as you have fard ayni and fard kifai, you have sunnah ayniyah and sunnah kifaiya. As you have fard that is individual and fard that is communal, you have sunnah that is individual and the sunnah that is communal. I think we got it, right? We have 5 ahkam taklifi, 5 ahkam kifai. 5 ahkam taklifi and 5 ahkam wad'iyah. The 5 ahkam taklifi are fard, mandub, haram, makruh, and mubah. The 5 ahkam wad'iyah, sabab, shart, mani', sihha, and fasad. Fasad is butlan. The 3 types of the 2 types of fard, in regard to its to fard itself, in regard to its time, and in regard to its what? Fard in regard to fard itself, and fard in regard to fard to the timing of fard.
For the ayn and for the kifaya.
No. Yes, I said fard of 2 types. It's of 2 types. Fard in yes, fard ayni and fard kifai is the fard in regard to its dua. It's ayni and kifai. Fard in regard to fard itself is muayyan and mubham. Fard in regard to its timing is what? Mudayyak and muwassah. هذا صلى الله على سيدنا محمد ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
ana lan ngeen doon wuti ca Makka muy jàllaaba muy cuuraay muy bépp accessoire buy jógee Makka ana lu ngeen di wuti Makka lépp loo xam ne da ngeen koy jëli ji ba Dubaay lépp loo xam ne da ngeen koy jëli ji maanaam foofu nga xam ni moom moo di ca Makkatul Mukarram am na fii nga xam ni moom moo di ci Saloum Jidda Saloum Jidda nekk fii ca 48 rue Fleuris angle Paul Hall muy li nga xam ni moom moo di ijab yi nga xam ni kat moom la jigéen ñi di muuro muy li nga xam ni moom moo di cuuraay muy zamzam muy lépp loo xam ne da di abbaaya wala sijaada lépp li nga xam ni moom ngeen ca bëgg ñëw leen fii nga xam ni moom moo di 48 rue Fleuris angle Paul Hall da ngeen bëgg li nga xam ni kat moom moo di oud wala ambre VIP muy parfum yu amaanaa yooyu di bàyyeekoo Makkatul Mukarram wala foofu nga xam ni moom moo di kat ca Dubaay jalaaba yaa nga wook kurus yaa ngi fi mbaxane yaa nga fa parfum oud yaa nga fa sijaada yu baax yaa nga fa kaamin yaa nga fa lépp looy soxla te muy jugee Makka te muy jugee Dubaay ñëwal fii nga xam ni moom moo di Saloum Jidda 48 rue Fleuris angle Paul Hall marché Sandaga Dakar bazin yu baax sax am nañ ko bazin yu baax a baax ca Saloum Jidda rawatina nag lem yoo xam ne ña nga jugee màkk yii miel jëlal gaaw 77 356 32 32 77 356 32 32 wala 77 562 24 24